Welcome to Aspire. We're so grateful you chose to be with us. We're going to be dealing in this half hour with one of the most beautiful of all the Beatitudes. Blessed are they that mourn. A very controversial one. What does it mean to mourn? Was Jesus telling us that it was very important for us to feel sad? Well, I have something unique for you, and we're going to do that in just a few moments. And then in the second half of our program, we're going to have one of the most amazing and beautiful guests that we've ever had on Aspire. This is a man who, was a cynic about religion, about life, about spirituality, developed cancer, and then through his own meditation and spiritual insights, which he's going to share with us on this program, he overcame his cancer without surgery. So please plan to be with us as we explore the insights of Blessed Are They That Mourn and an amazing story of life and health and love. Welcome to Aspire. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for being here and for your energy and for sharing with us. Before we begin, I want to start off on a premise that may not be too prevalent to a lot of us. If we don't think about this and give it some insight within our life, we might pass it by. Have you ever thought, or has it come to you, that a great deal of our life is spent in resistance? Look at your life for a minute. How much of your day is spent resisting, trying to make things happen the way you and I think they should happen, and missing them? We spend a great deal of our life missing our whole life because we're in the process of always resisting, always trying to move against life instead of seeking to understand it. And when we do this, we squander our life. We cause great pain and suffering. I looked at it in my own life. I looked at it as I went through from day to day to day. And it's a fascinating thing. I found myself resisting, judging, resisting, judging. And a lot of people would say, what else are you supposed to do? That's a part of what life is all about. You see things, you don't like things, you try to correct things. We have a motto in our world, and the motto is go out and make a living for yourself. Go out and make a life. How do you make a life that is already made for us? We spend a great deal of time resisting. And let's take it deeper. All of religion has been nothing but resistance, teaching us to resist things, to resist good, to resist evil, we are told. But don't we miss a lot if we are just constantly in this phase of resistance? Don't you think there's more to life? When Jesus gave us the teachings that he gave us on the Mount, I'm sure he gave them to individuals who had a tremendous sense of resistance in their own life. They were resisting the common day problems that they had, just like we are. They had problems in government, just like we do. They had problems earning a living, just like we do. But the key to it all was that Jesus' teaching was a non-resistant teaching. It was a teaching of compassion and love. There comes a moment, I feel, in everyone's life where it becomes very obvious to us that we have tried to solve our problems through resistance and it's not getting us anywhere. Look at the problems we have in our world today. We have crime, we have illness, we have the threat of war all the time, we have got the problems of religion. We've tried to heal all of our worldly and physical problems through science, politics, and religion. And trying to find answers through politics, I think we all know, is an extremely futile position. Nothing has been answered through that. And while science has given us so much in the form of its technology, we can split an atom in half with a laser, we can go to the moon, we can do some very dramatic things. Even though we are able to do all these wonderful things, science hasn't answered our problems. And then we come to religion. And a great portion of our religion today has been one of our major problems. Religion has taught us to be resistant, to take sides. We are people, we are the right people, we are God's chosen people, we are the people of the Christ or Jesus or whatever, and then we have over here those people who aren't, supposedly, whoever they may be, and maybe they would think I'm one of them. And that we think, well, religion is supposed to unify us, but how is it unifying us when the very belief of religion separates us? I don't believe Jesus came to do that. You know, if we listen to the teachings very vividly, if we listen to them honestly, If we listened to what Jesus said, we would be very upset because his teachings were a bit upsetting. He made a comment once in his life that I thought was interesting. He said, "You think I've come on this planet to make peace on earth, but I tell you no, rather division and war." How are we to take that one? You know, I never hear people talk about that one. They talk about Jesus as the Prince of Peace, but they never talk about what he meant when he said, "I came to divide. I came to cause war." You see, ladies and gentlemen, the whole object of religion is not to make us unified. Religion can't do that. It's an impossibility. There's only one thing that unifies us, and that is our spirituality. When we can do away with religion and come into an expression of spirituality, then something very beautiful happens. I want to give you a teaching on the mount that Jesus gave. "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." That is truly one of the most important of all teachings that we could ever come to. And I'd like to explain it at two levels. The first level may seem a bit superficial. The second level a little deeper. The word blessed means wise is the person, or courageous is the person. And let me give it to you in modern day vernacular. Courageous is the person who seeks no longer to resist, to polarize themselves in life. Wise is the person who will make changes in their life. We don't like the word change. It frightens us. Change is a frightening thing because we don't know what will be the result of it. But Jesus is saying, if you practice the Beatitudes, if you practice being poor in spirit, as we talked about last week, if you talk about the idea of letting go of our ego, of letting go of our desires, of letting go of our vanity and our pride, something very interesting is going to happen. A change occurs, and the change is something like this. And please listen. Please focus with me for a moment because this teaching is so important. It's like a death. It's like we die. When we make a change within ourselves, it's like a part of us is shed. And it's like a funeral. It's like a death. We've all had relationships that ended. And sometimes in retrospect, we can see that ending the relationship was a wonderful thing. It was for the good of both parties. But when we're there, it's like a death, isn't it? And let me say something to you. If you practice religion, you will never die. Of course, you can never live either. But if you practice the teachings that Jesus gave to you, a death will occur in your life. The death will be the shedding of an old self for a new and a greater self, a kinder, more loving self. Let me tell you about it a little deeper. It is going from the head to the heart, dying to the head, to the intellect, and coming to our heart. Now, this is a process of shedding. And if you are on the spiritual pathway, you will find a great portion of your time is spent in letting go, in surrender. A great portion of our time is spent in surrender. We should be letting go of the old. I want to give you some steps that will lead you to the process of letting go of mourning, as Jesus was saying. I'm so glad he gave us this teaching. I'm very grateful. Because in my spiritual evolution, in my spiritual progression, I have found that I've had to let go of a lot of things that I held very sacred in me, and I found out they were wrong, that they were useless, that they were not a truth. And it hurt to let them go. It hurt deep inside of me, and I felt as though there was this mourning period. But I want to share with you some ideas. What I'm about to share with you may be painful, and the first thing you may do is resist it. Watch your resistance. Watch it. Your resistance isn't going to get you anywhere. You need to make the changes when you are ready. I'm not here to tell you to make changes. That's up to you. You have to decide when you're ready to do this. Let me give you the first step. And it is truly a difficult one. If you wish to make some spiritual progression in your own life, if you wish to grow, if you wish to take away some of the ignorance that maybe you've had in your life, do one thing. Let go of all religious beliefs. It's not an easy one, is it? It's not something that we look forward to. What do you mean, let go of my religious beliefs, you say? If I let go of my religious beliefs, I go to hell. maybe you would for a little while. Maybe you would see there's no such thing as hell. You know, beliefs are nothing more than what our intellect has accepted. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're true. A belief is formulated because there's enough proof, enough intellect, and enough logic to make us believe in it. And that's not enough in life. You don't need more beliefs. We are filled with too many beliefs in life. Everybody has a belief. A belief that if you don't do this, you'll go there. A belief in that if you don't do that, that'll happen to you. Drop your beliefs. God is found in spontaneity. Always remember that. God cannot be found in intellect. God cannot be found in belief. God is found in innocence. This is why Jesus said, "Blessed are those who become like little children. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven." To become as a little child. A child has no beliefs. He isn't encumbered by his ego and his vanity and his pride. He's innocent. He's pure. He's ready to learn, ready to be open. Drop your beliefs. You don't need any more religious beliefs. You need, all of us need, to find that innocence within us, that space where God is possible. The second thing, and this is a difficult one too, drop your judgments. Oy vey. Where would we be without our judgments? You know, judgment is just another way in which we enhance our ego to make ourselves feel better than others. And I've noticed that whenever I've been judgmental, I'm feeling insecure about myself. And when I'm feeling insecure about myself, I'm judging everybody. I'm looking at things as wrong. I'm looking at things as bad, and I miss it. You know, on the Mount, Jesus said, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." In other words, the thing that is most important is, if I judge you and I look at you as less than myself, then I put myself in a position to be judged very harshly. I use my karmic energies and my spiritual energies in the wrong way. Blessed are they that mourn. Before we can make any kind of spiritual progress, a part of us must die. You know, the whole message of Jesus, if you look at it, was how to die to our religion, how to die to our intellect, that we might live in our spirit more, that we might live unencumbered in unconditional love. These are sacred teachings. They're not for everyone who watches and listens. They are the secrets of the masters. But the secrets live within you. And if you live within those secrets in compassion, in tenderness, in discipline, and in balance, some very beautiful things can occur in your life. I want you to know how honored and privileged I am to share these little secrets with you. I hope they bless you. I hope you'll stay tuned. We have something real exciting coming up, some discussion that I think you're going to find most interesting. Plan to be with us. Thank you very much. God bless. Thank you. Thank you. Well, after that, you know, probably one of the most frightening words in our language, our vocabulary, is cancer. It frightens a lot of us because we always think in terms of cancer and terminal. Well, that's all changing right now, and there are many individuals who are making that change. And I have two of them with me this morning on our television program, Aspire. These two individuals working together overcame a very large difficulty with cancer. I'm going to let them explain it. I'm also going to let them introduce themselves. Our studio audience will be asking questions, and hopefully they'll be the ones that you at home would be asking. Judith and Fred, I'm glad to have you. I'd like you to introduce yourselves. Fred, why don't you go first?
Well, I'm Fred Addicks, and I spent most of my life as an inventor, entrepreneur. Some of the toys you might recognize are Hot Wheels and the CNC alphabet toy. I helped co-invent that. And little weebles that wobble and don't fall down, which became the story of my life. I wobbled a lot and recovered from a large cancer of lymphoma, about 10 pounds throughout the abdomen. I had about 3 to 6 months to live, and I met Judy and her group called Challenging Cancer in the 3rd month of that period, and that was 5 years ago. And I'm in perfect health today.
Yes. Judith, tell us a little bit about your work.
I've been doing this work, Challenging Cancer, for 6.5 years, and The beginnings of the work came out of personal experience with my mother, who was dying of cancer. And in working with her, we developed the group, and she was my first group member. And she went on, instead of 7 days, which was her prognosis, to live 4 years. And I think it would have been longer had my dad not died. And in the process, I encountered Fred. And Fred, I think it's important to let you know that he's been free of cancer for 5 years. And he and I have been working together with the group to let people know that you don't have to die of cancer, that you can get well. And I think this is important for all of us to take responsibility for our wellness. And what we are teaching in the group is wellness. We're not talking about death and dying, because we can get well. And this is a process that we do to get well, and we do it every day for the rest of our life. And it has to do with taking care of our mind and our body and our spirit.
Beautiful. Fred, you were an atheist?
Yes, I always reserve the right. I call myself an agnostic. Being an engineer, I wanted to acknowledge other realities might exist. And about 6 months into the program, I discovered my wish to die be a perfect answer to all the problems I'd created in life that were insoluble. And having encountered that, I also began through meditation and developed a sense of a self that was observing this self. And I began to get more into my awareness that there is an essence that is now I recognize as my spiritual self. And the more I listen to that self, the healthier I get.
You talked about it when we were together alone as a transformation, a metaphysical transformation. Isn't that what you called it?
Yes, I'm really thankful for the opportunity now that the fear is gone and the terror that, occurs when you are diagnosed that way. For the message that it brought me and the opportunity to really look at my life and to discover who I really am, and that I really don't die, and that the process of transformation where I realize my spiritual potential is the reward that I got for the pain I went through.
Beautiful. Go on.
I'd like to comment on that. I remember when Fred was in the group, one of the things that we look at is the meaning of our illness, because cancer is an opportunity. I think it's a big kick in the pants that says, wake up, something's wrong in your life, something is out of balance. But one of the things that Fred discovered about himself, that if at age 49, when he was fighting this cancer, if he died, he would be a 49-year-old hero. But if he lived, he'd be a 49-year-old failure, because he had a lot of problems at that time. And so the wish to die was very strong. And what he had to get in touch with was his wish to live, his will to live, in order to make that transformation. And once that happened, I just observed that tumor just melted away within just a period of a few months.
No surgery?
I had exploratory surgery. They put about 100 clips to identify it for x-ray, but they could not remove it. It was too much intertwined with the aorta and the other organs. And radiation was a possibility, and I went through the full course without benefit and began chemotherapy. About the time I was 5 months through chemotherapy, I decided to go it alone with my own will to live, my spiritual self, my mental imagery, things that Carl Symington pioneered and Judy teaches as well, have been very helpful. Then I didn't continue, but the oncologist was good enough to say, well, I don't agree with your discontinuing, however, I will monitor you. And the next x-rays, CAT scan, 3 months showed an improvement. And the following 3 months, it was all gone.
God bless you. You are something very special, both of you. Any questions from the audience? We have one here.
Fred, how is your healing relative to our lives?
Well, I think that all of us don't have to go through the 4x4 cancer to get a message that certain things aren't working. We need to forgive, we need to let go, we need to let God, we need to recognize that we are spiritual selves, and every lesson is a lesson to learn in love. And when we're not learning our lesson one way, we'll develop physical elements that will help. That's one. Any physical element is a separation, and the cure is love. And it begins with love in our heart going out.
And it also begins with loving yourself. Many times people with cancer take care of everyone else. And one of the lessons, I think, of the disease is to learn to take care of yourself. And that means loving yourself and doing what's good for you. And oftentimes, cancer gives people the excuse that they need to start taking care of themselves, to start saying no to things that they don't want to do. And then the other gift of the disease is often that people really learn to live by almost dying. Instead of out pursuing many material things in the world, they begin to really appreciate what's valuable, the love, the relationships. That is what really counts in life. And they give themselves permission to experience that.
We don't really think of cancer as a gift, do we?
But I have heard so many people say, I'm so glad I got cancer. I have finally learned how to live.
Magnificent teaching. Anyone else? Another question?
I wanted to ask Judy or Dr. Penn or whoever, do you feel that the will to live had anything to do with the healing?
Well, I think it has everything to do with the healing. Unless the will to live is strong, I do not think anything really works, any medical treatment or any nutritional program. I saw that. My mother evidenced that. She, in 49, was given a year to live with a kidney disease, and she didn't die until 1981, and they gave her 7 days, and she died 4 years later. And that had to do with the will to live. And I saw Fred's change come when he decided he really wanted to live. So it has everything to do with overcoming an illness. I think the body, and I've also worked in hospice for 6 years, counseling with hundreds of families, of patients and families, and the minute the will to live is gone, the body just begins to shut down. And I've seen that over and over again, so it's very important.
Go on ahead, do you have another?
Well, I was going to say Lawrence LaShawn, who's done, a psychologist that's written You Can Fight for Your Life, his research study shows that often cancer develops when people have lost their reason to be, their purpose in life. And Simonton also, that many times cancer develops 6 to 18 months after a significant loss in our life. Our immune system does become suppressed, and then cancer cells have an opportunity to take over. So we must work on keeping ourselves, resistance built up. And there's many ways that we can do that.
Well, I think we should have them back, don't you? You have a little brochure for those of you who are interested. It's Challenging Cancer if you want to get a hold of Judith and if you're interested in taking this kind of approach. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. And cancer is no longer a word that is terminal anymore. It's a teacher, and in a way it offers a gift for those of us who are wise enough to awaken to it. I want to thank you, Fred, for sharing your experience with us. You're a very brave and courageous person, Judith. And I thank you for your love and your affection for helping him. Thank you both very much. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It was excellent.